G'day crew, welcome to Goat Fantasy. Nice to have your company. It's the Mailbag, Round 9 edition. Goat Fantasy is brought to you by checkmyrate.au. Visit the website, it's free to use. Take control of your financial future. Brandon and the team will help you find the best home loan rates, and that is particularly important in these tough economic times. All right. Nice to be with you as always. Drew Jones, your host on Goat Fantasy. So Wednesday means it's time for the mailbag, and I did something a little bit different this week and just threw out there the idea of a rookie mailbag just to see where everyone's head is at this week, because it's becoming increasingly difficult to find these cash cows, and it's a really important time of the season where we're changing over these initial fattened rookies from the start of the year, and a lot have done their jobs. And we also need guys who can play a role on our bench through the bye rounds. And are we going to have enough to go around and fill out our 22s for the week to try and get the best scores we can during best 18? So there is a bit to think about. And let's just get stuck into the questions. We'll talk a bit more about all the rookies a little bit later. So the question, who are we looking to bring in? Who do you want to move on? And let's talk names for the GOAT mailbag. Dave, start us off. He says, any combination of Sarong, Grill, Farrow are going this week. Having Cumming and Rechko means I can do too many upgrades, but really need a downgrade target next week. Yeah, we're all in that boat, Dave, to be honest. I'm thinking ahead to next week and wondering who will be that option. So Sarong, I feel, is still trustworthy. Nice role, bit more mature aged at Sydney. He's playing away this week, and he's generally scored better away from home for the Swans than at the SCG with those small wings. So you can trust him, but understand he's made so much cash, and you can get him up to, say, a McCluggage or a Newman or whatever without too much cash. Grill can certainly go. It's a shame that he hasn't been able to just kick on for a couple more weeks. Just that cash gen really has flattened out. And then Farrow, I think, is the one that you want to keep for the ceiling, because if Essendon go back to the way they've been scoring over that sort of 4-week block with Archie Roberts dominating, Farrow is going to be one of those players who's going to benefit from chipping around. It's a good week for a mini upgrade, isn't it? If you can move on one of those rooks and take them up to an underpriced premium and maybe bring Cumming in. John O'Carroll says, Tom Burton, please discuss, as I prefer him over his teammate due to the fact of saving 80k, and that could be useful in a couple of weeks. That's interesting. So preferring Burton over Cumming. I would definitely go Cumming over TB if there is that price difference, which I trust you that there is. Burton has been okay, hasn't been great, but Cumming's job security much better. But having said that, so Prestia out this week and Taranto in potentially could be the only change, because they don't have a lot of guys coming back from injury. So Burton potentially holds his spot, depending on what those younger boys did in the VFL who are out of the side. Wagsy says, I'm bringing in Sharp this week for Jakes and Dale for Farrow. So the only small flags I'd put on this is that Sharp got those CBAs last week with Darcy Parish out and Caldwell injured. I think the right move for Essendon is to play Sharp a bit more through the middle of the ground. But potentially with DP3 coming back and Caldwell maybe playing, he might get a few less going forward. But I don't mind the Sharp move. And then Dale, the flag is just that the Butterick is coming back, so his scoring might be slightly capped. Hyrax says, thoughts on Tom Brown as a low-end mid-pricer and play until he's bye with Banks out? Yeah, I think that Brown gets this little distributor bump at the moment to the point where it's going to be interesting to see how they fit everyone in when everyone's fit at the same time. But yeah, 545 is an awkward price, but I don't mind it. Certainly good. It's not a bad draft pickup. I've seen someone in my leagues already grabbed him. But if you need a back, he has been pretty good as a distributor without Banks. Olivier Calvi says, hi, GOAT. Who goes first between Farrow and Sarong? Jai has been so reliable, break even lower, but I don't like the North Melbourne matchup. Yes, it's the harder matchup, isn't it? One of the hardest in the league for scoring, and I think Farrow's got more upside, more ceiling. So I'd be keeping Farrow. Bradley David, Sharp or Murray as a downgrade option? Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Sharp has at least that potential mid-clock CBA upside. Murray, you'd think he's going to get a run in the team because actually the combo with McAndrew is working quite well. But I'd probably lean slightly towards Sharp if forward status, etc., isn't too much of an issue for you. Crazy Sainters DT, thoughts this week on going Timu Baz to Zach Bailey and Windsor down to Cumming. Yeah, that's perfect, mate. Well done. Glenn Bartlett, should I go Farrow or Sarong to Cumming? I think you keep Farrow. You go L. Will Edwards got a chance to stay in the team after McCartan back? Yeah, and that's the big issue as to whether they go with Edwards or Melican. That's probably the decision they have to make. They probably end up leaning towards Melican, just with all his experience. But Edwards hasn't done too much wrong. He's probably just outside of the best 23 when they're all fit, though. Michael Bellardi. Already got Rechko and Cumming. Is Roby the next best option? Yeah, I don't mind it because he's got the big body, decent role, and that forward status. I think Roby is definitely a play unless you want to just go down to a 230k and take a bit of a shot at the stumps or even take the red dot for now. Nick, I feel the bigger issue is who do we field? Rookie roulette sucks. Yeah, it's tough. Definitely Farrow this week you want on your ground. I think that's probably the obvious one. Any news on Jakes coming back into the side? On a separate note, with upgrade season, does Dyson Sharp have a role now as a loop bench option / downgrade? Yeah, lots of questions on Sharp, and I think they're fair. I think we just need to watch teams. If Caldwell's out, then I think Sharp potentially could have a big week, and I think that's something worth investing in. Jake's not sure. I'm interested to see where Carmichael sits in the pecking order too. I asked David Zeta to ask Luke Beveridge on my behalf about Carmichael, but he refused to do so. So we have to wait a bit longer for more information on him. Liam, any news on Caldwell's ankle? Yeah, so he trained today. And according to Theo Doropoulos, who was there, he looked a bit proppy. So I guess we're just going to have to wait for teams. Suts, not a rookie, but I want to know where Nick Bryan is at. Any chance of him returning soon? Yeah, Peter Wright's been pretty good in the ruck, and I think that has been the only thing that's held him back. I just think isn't Peter Wright best suited as a forward, and therefore bring Nick Bryan in? I've been holding him in multiple leagues. So yeah, hopefully he gets a chance soon, but he's had a decent run in the VFL. Lance Collard, a cheeky play if he gets that run off half back at AFL level. That's very interesting, isn't it? If he got in the AFL side as a half backer, he is absolutely a play. So let's wait and see how he settles back into life at VFL level. Matt Masker says coming in. That was Burnsy with the Lance Collard one. Matt Masker coming in. Selwood or Farrow out? Yeah, Selwood's got to go. Carmichael, where is he at? Any chance of a pre-buy debut? Yeah, I'm really hoping he jumps in soon because he'll be so handy for us as someone who can make some cash playing off half back. Surely they're going to move on from Bramble and give Carmichael a chance at some stage. John, is Bodie Ryan an option? Is there any other options other than Murray and Sharp already have coming? Yeah, it'd be risky to go so early on Bodie Ryan. I think we need to look at him. We don't know much about him. I think Sharp is the play this week over Murray. South Crom Albion. Dyson hair vacuum Sharp has snuck his way into a negative break even. Is his mid-roll sustainable? Yeah, that's the big problem, isn't it? Follow-up. Can we then have double downgrade to Cumdog and Sharp with the rookie drought on the horizon? Yeah, I think it's a good week with some mid-prices with, say Nick Newman and McCluggage. So if you can do the mini upgrade and get coming in, I think that's the play this week. Henza 360, what do you know about Bodie Ryan? Yeah, not a lot. Let me do some research about Bodie, see if I can get some more information. Blake, I need a basement to bring in Finn Cal. He's gone, Bodie Ryan. With Farrow and D-Rob out, Callahan run in. Yeah, I think that's not a bad move. I think this week, when you're looking for a basement, you may as well go for Bodie. He's playing in defence. He might score a few points for you. High Goats, it's looking grim for defender rookies on the horizon. Any idea on Bodie Ryan's job security? And maybe some wishful thinking. Andy Menzies Wakefield has been going well in the twos. Yeah, I was hopeful that Menzies Wakefield might be a guy for us, but ultimately Jake Bowie is the next one in, and then Menzies Wakefield sort of sits behind that. So we have to wait and see for him to get his opportunity. I think once he get him in, he might get a decent run in the side coming off the ACL. They want to have a look at him. I know they like him. So hopefully he comes up for us as an option soon. Abs asking about Roby. I think he is someone you can fall back on who's got a spot in the best 23. Branny, as an owner of Sam Cumming already, I'm struggling to pick the next rookie to jump on. I'm considering cashing Dev Rob to a red dot ruck. Yeah, I know a few people are going the red dot this week. You could go Cody Curtin. You could go Bodie Ryan. There's a few sort of basement guys right down the bottom. And I think that's not a bad option because there aren't many to go to this week if you're looking for a cash grab. Otherwise, I think Dyson Sharp could be a decent option. All right, let's pause for a moment. I've got to do AFL tonight, and then we'll jump back on just to round this one out. All right, I hope you enjoyed AFL tonight. We're back to finish the podcast. So Bodie Ryan, just FYI, the last couple of weeks in the VFL. So he's a medium-sized rebounding or lockdown defender. So versatile defender, drafted a couple of years ago out of South Australia in the Brighton Bombers. So got 25 disposals, 13 kicks, 12 handballs, 1 Mark II tackles a few weeks ago against Sandringham in the VFL. And then last week against Collingwood, Bodie Ryan had 65 fantasy points, 70 the week before, 65 last week with 18 disposals. So not a lot of marks. So it doesn't suggest that he's involved in much chipping around in the back line, which ideally we'd love to see that on his resume. So middling sort of VFL scores, been in the system a couple of years and getting acclimatised to Sam Mitchell's way of playing after coming over from South Australia. So just quickly want to recap some of the rookies. So we talked about various different options through the podcast. But just hitting on the ones that we probably spoke about a little bit in the Rage Trades as well in terms of the players that we can be looking at this week. So Burton and Cumming clearly from a Tigers perspective, especially in Supercoach as they're both on the bubble and both still affordable in AFL Fantasy. I'm less confident about Burton than Cumming at this stage, but the Tigers injury situation means that perhaps Burton does get a decent run in the side. The second tier, and these probably have more of a Supercoach slant to them. So Artie Jones at the Bulldogs, who had a great preseason, hamstrings sort of grounded him a little bit, but he's shown his potential. He's an option. Jed Buslinger, about 200k in Supercoach. He's played 2 games, so he's on the bubble. We know that Lobb and O'Donnell are a couple of weeks away, so there's some risk attached to that. Liam Henry, very cheap at St Kilda. Scored 86 as a forward, so he's one to keep an eye on at the Saints. And then Max Heath at the D seems to be getting a decent run of games if you want a ruck forward in your midst. And then a few other names for you. Connor McKenna, very cheap. I'm not sure what his job security is like at Brisbane, but he's played a couple of weeks. He's on the bubble in Supercoach. And then Tobin Murray from Adelaide. Again, slow start to the year when he was in the ruck. Low game time, but was good last week, partnering up with the big boy, Lockie McAndrew, and then Will Edwards from Sydney. There's a bit of risk associated with this one because we're just not quite sure what his job security is with McCartan to come back. And then Charlie Edwards has played 2 games at Adelaide. Again, has sort of been in the side when Dawson hasn't been. And whether or not those two can exist in the same side with also Sam Berry and a bunch of other mids rolling around remains to be seen. But he looks like a promising young player and maybe someone we can buy into a bit down the track if Adelaide have a few injuries. But yeah, there's not heaps around. Bodie Ryan debut, one to keep an eye on as well. And I'm sure there's going to be more that come across our desk. I'm not sure, actually. I'm hopeful that more are going to come across the desk soon because we'll need them for the middle part of the season. All right, thanks for being involved in the mailbag. We appreciate all your support and all your responses on Goat Fantasy. Might be back for another one tomorrow. Let's see if we can make it 5 from 5, but definitely on Friday with Warnie. We'll catch you soon on Goat Fantasy. Good luck with the Rooks.